we were tasked with researching the Bigfoot-UFO connection, a theory claiming that the elusive ape-like monster may in fact be of otherworldly origins.
We looked into these claims and uncovered an unbelievable story with a surprising number of cases and obscure theories explaining the association of Bigfoot with UFOs.
Why are Bigfoots sighted near UAP activity? Do they operate flying saucers? Is Sasquatch quantum?
This is for anyone intrigued by the unexplained, or that has a curiosity with mysteries that lie at the fringes of human understanding. I'm your co-host Izzo, joined here by your other co-host Magnum.
And this is the Swerve Podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Swerve Podcast. Glad you could make it here to listen to another incredible episode that we have here.
How's everyone doing? This is going to be a crazy topic, but before we get into that, if you're a first-time listener and you're wondering what you've stumbled across, we're the Swerve Podcast, and we do deep research on topics that swerve off the mainstream path, then talk about them in an uncensored way that's not boring. Here, we like to prioritize listener-requested topics, preferably topics that we know little to nothing about, doing the extensive deep dive research so that you don't have to, all in line with our overall mission to understand everything in the universe, one obscure topic at a time. Typically, we cover fun conspiracy stuff, fringe or cutting-edge science, forgotten or alternative history, strange myths and urban legends, consciousness, UFOs, true crime, the paranormal, or unexplained mysteries. But before we hop into the basics of today's topic, Izzo, would you tune our listeners in on our special tradition on the podcast?
Yeah, the tradition is that we like to drink while we record these episodes, and we share what we're drinking with you, so you can maybe make a cocktail yourself or grab a drink and kick back and listen to the episode. So the way it works is we'll take listener recommended drinks, we'll make classic cocktails, or sometimes just keep it basic, and we'll just share with you. So right now, I am drinking a rum and coke.
Oh!
Yeah. Simple, but I got something for the next episode.
Excellent. Interesting. Yeah. So I'm hitting two birds with one stone here. I have a Bigfoot related drink, but it was also recommended by a listener of the podcast. So shout out to the Big Grimbowski for recommending this drink. This is an interesting one. This is Monster Energy drink mixed with Fireball. So it's a half and half with ice. And I figured, right, we're talking about Bigfoot, we're talking about monsters. Let's do an energy drink. Let's go crazy. And Fireball, right? Foo Fighters, kind of fire flying. So it kind of hit both angles. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect for this episode. So let's rock it.
And it's going to hit you right in the heart. You'll have a heart attack right on the podcast.
Yeah, this is a dangerous drink. I don't know what to expect here. We'll see what happens. But with that, maybe let's hop into the basics.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I have a little bit of a preamble before we move forward here. The Bigfoot UFO connection, this was the runner-up in our April voting block. It only lost by 2 votes to anti-gravity. So I figured, we might as well do this topic. There's a lot of interest in it. And that's just a reminder. If you want to help us decide topics, you can sign up for free on Patreon and help decide what topics we cover next. But this is funny. So I never thought we were going to be talking about Bigfoot UFO connection. There's kind of I don't know, is you kind of know there's certain topics that we kind of try to avoid because they kind of will break your mind permanently, like flat earth or something. But, we also like to swerve. So I thought anything's possible. Here we go. And I remember this is a super deep cut all the way back to the Patterson-Gimlin footage. It's like episode 20 or something. I came across references to Bigfoot being a quantum force, and I rejected it immediately because I feared that it was going to shatter my mind, right? You can't be like quantum Bigfoot. Yeah. So I locked it away. I compartmentalized it with flat earth, and I was like, we're not doing this on the podcast. And then here the fuck we are years later, we're studying the damn quantum Bigfoot.
You tried to get away, but it kept pulling you back in.
I couldn't get away. So here we go. Let's do it. Let's rock it. Let's hop through the basics here. This is going to be a really great episode, actually. I was surprised. This is the main idea, obviously. It's right in the name. there's high instances of simultaneous occurrences of Bigfoot and UFOs. This is a thing. I looked it up on Gaia.com. They report that at least 20% of all Bigfoot sightings co-occur with UFO events. It seems kind of high.
Yeah.
I don't know, Gaia.com, are they a trustworthy source? I don't know. Maybe take it with a pinch of salt. But that's what I found. Apparently, there has been, even in recent years, massive upticks in UFO-Bigfoot activity as recent as 2023 in Pennsylvania. And keep Pennsylvania in mind. There's some strangeness going on there. When we get through some of the cases, Pennsylvania's got something's weird in Pennsylvania with Bigfoot and UFOs.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Now, the fact that there are many concurrent sightings has led some UFO enthusiasts and some Bigfoot believers to postulate that there's a more holistic theory that could explain the two phenomenon. Hence, we get to the Bigfoot UFO connection. I have a quote here that I found on the internet from a paranormal researcher named William Hall, and I just liked what he had to say about this because it kind of sums up how I'm feeling about the whole thing. He said, quote,
"It used to be that the UFO people didn't talk to the ghost people because they were a little weird, and nobody would talk to the Bigfoot people because they were crazy. I found out we cannot continue to do that. In reality, quantum physics is leading us there."
End quote. See, here we go. Here we go. This is going to be, we're swerving on this one immensely. I want to say just quickly before we hop into the basics here, there's a surprising number of case studies, and we're going to spend the first part of the episode covering these case studies. This includes CIA documented events. This includes witnesses seeing ape-like creatures literally flying crafts, and then clusters of UFO and Bigfoot events that were so frequent that it's referred to as the UFO-Bigfoot invasion of Pennsylvania. I'm serious. It's crazy.
What the hell's going on in Pennsylvania?
I don't know. Secondly, once we get through these cases, which I was surprised at the number, there's also a surprising number of different theories, right? This holistic theory trying to explain why these two phenomena may or may not be related. We're going to be talking about interdimensional Bigfoot, extraterrestrial Bigfoot, and then finally, here we are. My mind shattered. I might be permanently destroyed from this episode. We're going to be going into the quantum Bigfoot.
Sounds funny. It's kind of like an oxymoron.
Hey, actually it is. Let's hop into some Bigfoot UFO case studies.
As we delve deeper into the tangled web of the Bigfoot UFO connection, let's zoom in on some jaw-dropping cases that blur the lines between reality and the unknown. These accounts may leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the mysterious. Let's sift through the evidence together.
So we're going to do this in a chronological order. I went back all the way to the 1800s. This was the first case I could find that was Bigfoot UFO related. This happened in 1888. It's called the Crazy Bears case. And just for reference, we're going to have links to all of these cases and theories in the description of the show notes. This case comes from a private journal entry of a white man that lived amongst the Indians in the Rocky Mountains. How it's described, he knew them well. He spoke the language. He was even an initiate in one of the tribes. The grandson of this man who made the journal entry is who allegedly found the private journal. So sometime later, his journal is found by his grandson. The white man describes an encounter he had with Native Americans in Humboldt County, California. The natives led the man to a cave, and in the cave, there was a naked humanoid creature covered with long, shiny black hair, had no neck, sitting cross-legged. And the natives referred to this humanoid as a crazy bear. Allegedly, the natives told him that there were 3 of these crazy bear beings, not just this one. There had been 3, and they were cast out of a small moon that landed from the stars, swooping down like an eagle. Then the moon lifted back up into the sky. That's already kind of weird, right? This kind of sounds like a Bigfoot maybe coming out of some kind of craft. What's more crazy, the crazy bears allegedly were flesh eaters that also lived and hunted like a bear. So if this is true, some people claim that the crazy bears are in fact Bigfoots, and the moon clearly in this story is some kind of extraterrestrial craft. So this could in fact be the first UFO-Bigfoot connection.
This is the exact opposite of a Care Bear.
Oh!
A crazy bear.
A crazy bear. Yeah, kind of interesting. Never heard about it in the past. That's how we looked into it, but...
No neck, or the traps were just too big?
I don't know. Well, we'll see here. This seems to be a common description, is there's no neck.
Okay.
So are they just doing a lot of shoulder shrugs, or do they indeed have no necks? I don't know. We'll find out. Stay tuned, listeners. We'll get to the bottom of this. Let's talk about this next case. This one is weird because there's literally a CIA document. It'll be in the show notes. You can find it, click it. That's documenting this case. This happens all the way back July 31st, 1966. This is in Erie, Pennsylvania. There's an alleged simultaneous occurrence of a UFO and Bigfoot, and this was investigated, funny enough, as a part of Project Blue Book. So shout out all the way back to episode 5. This is where this document comes from. It comes out of that program. So how this was described, there was 4 tourists from New York, and their car got stuck in the sand at the beach. And I mean, that's not surprising to me. I'm not surprised that a group of New Yorkers would drive their car into the sand and get it stuck. What are we talking about?
Hey, we're driving here.
It's like one of them goes to get a tow truck, and in the meantime, there's a police officer that drives by and kind of checks in on everybody to see what they're up to, and was like, okay, I see what the situation is. I'm going to come back, within an hour and just see what's going on. So the police return. All parties at this point, so the police officer and these 3 tourists, they see something strange going on in the sky, and they don't really know what it is, but it's described as an angular craft that emitted red and orange lights. This is also what's a little bit more strange about this. It irradiated a beam of white light that looked like it was tracking something in the nearby woods. One of the tourists and 2 of the officers, they go to investigate what this light is, and the 2 other tourists just stay at the car. As they're going to investigate, they start hearing car horns honking. Something has happened. So they turn around and hustle back to see what's going on. And the 2 tourists that stayed behind, they said that they witnessed a bipedal humanoid figure bigger than a man with a big head and shoulders come out in front of the car and then flee into the bushes. I don't know. Is this another Bigfoot sighting that happens? It's described as a monster in the CIA report. They're seeing this craft with these lights. And another crazy part of this story, allegedly the next day, there was 2 triangular marks in the area the next morning. So they think this could possibly be remnants, or I don't know, like some kind of residue or imprint from the UFO craft if it had landed.
Almost like a crop circle.
Interesting.
But I guess a branded triangle into the ground.
Yeah. So it's kind of a strange story. But I like this one because this was quite literally documented by Project Blue Book.
I mean, I've never thought about it until this point that Bigfoot could be possibly related to UFOs.
No, I never crossed my mind ever until we've had it in our voting block. But here we go. Apparently this is a thing. Okay, so 1973 now. This Mrs. Reafa Heitfield and her son, they're sleeping in a trailer in Cincinnati, Ohio. You'll actually also find there's a lot of people in trailers that witness Bigfoot and UFO sightings.
Maybe
as
that should be a topic.
These cases, the Bigfoot UFO trailer connection.
If you live in a trailer, you're more likely 3 times as likely to spot a UFO or Bigfoot.
Reafa, she wakes up around 2:30 a.m. and she observes these strange lights in a nearby parking lot. She noticed an inexplicable cone of light, kind of shaped like a huge bubble umbrella, about 7 feet in diameter. And this, what she's seeing essentially would resemble what we would consider a UFO or UAP craft. Nearby, she spots a grayish ape-like creature, again with no neck. The ape-like creature moved slowly and entered into the cone of light coming from this craft. And about 5 minutes later, the ape-like creature and the UFO vanished. It's like it got beamed up, like Star Trek style or something.
Now I'm thinking about Bigfoot being Chewbacca, and like he's just a part of Star Wars where, you know, they land the craft, he goes, explores, make sure it's safe, goes back to the craft, and they're out.
Actually, I think we're going to have that as a theory. I think that's in the theories.
Yeah,
so
okay.
You're onto something. And apparently Star Wars is ahead of their time, right? They were onto the Bigfoot UFO connection early on.
A lot of those shows, like even Star Trek, they were onto some stuff before it became mainstream.
Yeah. This is another sighting that happens very shortly after the Reafa Heitfield case. This happens October 25th, 1973. So in the same year, this is the Fayette County case. How this went down, there was a group of farmers in Fayette County near Uniontown, Pennsylvania. They observed some kind of dome-shaped UFO craft. The craft was observed by about 15 people at 9 p.m. So this is a multiple witness sighting of the craft, giving it a little bit more credibility. It was described as a large red object in the sky that slowly moved to the ground. And this one was about 100 feet in diameter, so about the size of a house. It's quite the hefty craft floating around, very strange. 15 witnesses. A farmer's son and 2 other young boys went to investigate it. They drive towards it, and they first encounter high-pitched and whiny screams resembling a baby crying, and they hear this as they're approaching this pasture. Next, they observe the craft. It's about 250 feet away. It's now a half sphere with a bright white dome and a flat bottom. There's also a glowing ring around where the craft landed. Here we go. 2 massive bipedal creatures covered with thick matted hair, and they had luminescent, glowing green eyes, also very long arms dangling below their knees, and of course, no neck. These creatures, estimated by these witnesses, appeared to be about 8 feet, maybe 7 feet tall. Depending, one of them was 8 feet, one of them was 7 feet. And they knew that this was the case because there was a barbed wire fence, like the fence posts of this barbed wired fence along the pasture was 6 feet tall. So they kind of had that as a reference. One of the farmer's sons, as you do when you see some crazy shit, starts shooting at them. Fires some tracers. It says they fired tracers over to the creatures. One of the creatures raises its hand in the air, and then instantly the UAP vanishes and the creatures escape into the nearby woods. They immediately call the state police, and that's kind of where the case ends. It just gets recorded. It's a strange one because you have multiple witnesses on the UFO craft, which is interesting, but then you only have the farmer's son and the 2 other young boys see the Bigfoots. And here, I don't know what's the plural for Bigfoot? We should establish this. Is it Bigfoots? Is it big feet? Because you want to say big feet, right? Because that makes sense. But no one says that. I think you just say Bigfoots or Bigfoot creatures.
Probably Bigfoot creatures.
It's so bizarre. I don't know what to say talking about this grammatically. But in any case, this case is very strange.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Because they don't attack back, because obviously they know that they could mess up these kids. And they're just like, you know what? UFO, go away. Or like they send their aircraft back and then they just like run away. Which is also kind of like, if you're here and the other story of like crazy bears, like flesh eaters, just eat the kids.
Yeah, why are you scared? Well, I guess they're shooting at them or what?
with tracers? What even is a tracer?
You know, I didn't understand that part of the story. And actually, I've seen the story reported in different ways. Some it was they literally shot them.
Okay.
And then in one story, it said tracers. So I just went with tracers. I'm assuming it's like a sanitized version of the story or something.
Okay.
That would be my guess, but I'm not certain. Let's talk about this next case. So here we're getting to, this is one of the craziest ones of the whole thing. This is what's referred to as the Pennsylvania UFO-Bigfoot invasion of 1973.
Again in Pennsylvania.
Yes. I should say a lot of this is documented by a guy named Stan Gordan, who we will talk about in other parts of this episode. He is someone from Pennsylvania. He's been operating a hotline for decades. Like maybe it might be 4 or 5 decades. No, it might be even more. It might be like 5 decades.
Wow.
He's been operating a hotline. So he's been responding to stuff. And a lot of this information is coming from what he's written about this. In 1973, there were spikes of activity, both UFO and Bigfoot related activity in an area of over 80 miles or 130 kilometers. This was reported over 9 different counties. There was over 123 reports of Bigfoot creatures from over 250 witnesses in 1973. That's a lot. We got multiple witnesses, a lot of reports. The Bigfoot creatures ranged between 5 to 10 feet tall. They were also associated with these high-pitched screams, again, similar to a baby. So I don't know what's going on with these Bigfoots shrieking like babies, but that's annoying. I can see that being very annoying if you're citing this stuff. One report said that the Bigfoot creature resembled a suit of shiny fabric. Again, here we go. Extraterrestrial, some kind of space suit. I don't know.
It was a family reunion of Bigfoots.
Actually, a lot of these reports report that these Bigfoot creatures, they peep into the windows. So they're coming in, they're looking through the blinds, they're curious, they're perverts. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but they're peeping through the windows all the time. It's just like one guy dressed up. He's just a straight pervert dressed as Bigfoot, running around, creeping on people. Is that what the story is? I don't know.
One guy in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's just one guy dressing as Bigfoot.
Parachutes into farm fields.
Yeah. Maybe that's the story. Maybe we'll save that for our theories section.
What's that thing called? Like a ghillie suit?
Yeah, a ghillie suit.
Like fur and hair, and he's just like walking around in that
just
thing.
on people's roofs and stuff as they're coming out of their bathrooms. I mean, hey, this Pennsylvania, I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania, but anybody who's a listener of the podcast and lives there, let us know. Do you have Bigfoots peeping in on you when you shower? Let us know. We'll let Stan Gordan know. He can add it to the list. Now, this is all simultaneously occurring with UFO and UAP sightings in the sky. There's triangles reported, there's ovals, there's cigar-shaped UFOs, there's footballs, there's arrowheads. There's a bunch of different shapes being reported. So this starts a little before 1973. In December 1972, Westmoreland County residents report white glowing orbs hovering in the sky and shards of material are falling off of them towards the ground. The material was tracked down by Stan Gordan's ufology group, and it appeared to just be aluminum scrap metal. But this sighting marked the beginning of the 1973 shenanigans. They see these white spheres shedding stuff. That's kind of weird. It's hard to describe what that is.
Yeah.
It's not a weather balloon.
I guess, yeah, it wouldn't be that. It could be like a rocket exploding.
Yeah, like dropping off the
light. And then just
kind of like that Norway situation we went through. Yeah. But in any case, that's kind of what starts this fiasco. The following month, January 1973, Greensburg residents observe a brown, hairy, ape-like bipedal creature that emitted a rotten egg smell chasing 2 dogs in the middle of the day. They confront him. They're like, "Hey, buddy, stop chasing our dogs." And
You smell like shit.
Yeah, spraying him with like Febreze and shit. He flees into the woods when he was confronted. So I don't know what's up with these Bigfoot, but they're scared. They seem very quick to flee, like fight or flight. They're straight flight in a UFO. Like
all that size for nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense here. They're scared. But anyways, this is the first thing that's cited. These two dogs being chased by some guy in a ghillie suit. No. January to February 1973, there's several reports of fatal attacks around Pottstown in Montgomery County. Chickens are being found ripped apart in their coops, and dogs are being found with broken spines. Crazy. So this month, not really too many sightings, but there's just like these fatal attacks to people's animals. It's very, very bizarre, very strange. Something is strong enough to break the spines of these dogs and shred chickens, like shred them.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
That's pretty weird. That's no chupacabra.
March 1973, there's about a dozen witnesses in Greensburg. They report 8 to 10 foot tall Bigfoot creatures walking out of a craft that resembled a UFO. They were walking down a beam of light as if it was a staircase. Maybe it is kind of like Care Bears. Don't they like walk on rainbows and shit?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Sounds like you do.
Yeah. I do what I want in my spare time. In Beaver County, a father, his teenage son.
Beaver County. Take me to Beaver County.
Woo! I put that on the soundboard. Before we continue the episode, if you enjoy listening to our crazy shit, the people you hang out with probably will too. Do us a solid and please pass on this episode to your social media friends on Facebook, Instagram, X, or other platforms. We would definitely appreciate your support. I'd also like to take this time to shout out some of our valued listeners. Shout out to John Donegan, the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast, Andrea.M, Daniel B, Clint J, Michael Vander Leli, Rod Dogstatter, Robbie Solis, and George Bojo for liking our posts on Facebook or X. Also, huge shoutouts to our newest initiates on Patreon. Massive shoutouts to Dustin Buell and Dave Baxter for joining our Slap That Ass tier. And lastly, I wanted to thank Shelly Terry for recommending today's episode. I think we missed you in the preamble, but we still got you here. To everyone else, thank you for listening to the show, and please feel free to submit your topic or drink recommendations at theswervepodcast.com. May good karma and vibes with all of you. Quickly, before we continue the episode, we wanted to share with you another fellow explorer of the unknown, the Holosky podcast. Check them out when you get a chance.
And I saw this giant, like 8-foot hairy creature just run across the road.
She was claiming a man was talking to her through the sound machine.
If there are any spirits in this room, please give us a sign that you are here. And as soon as he finished that sentence, the door to the bedroom slammed shut and the candle blew out. And now the room is pitch black.
As it walked like an ape, but human though, too also.
But as they moved towards us, they grew in height and slenderized and became distorted.
We are the Holosky Podcast, and welcome to the Holocult. Join us every Monday for tales of the strange and unusual, wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, stay safe, stay weird.
So I don't know what's going on in Beaver County. This guy, his son, and his friend's son, they're hiking in the woods. They observe a Bigfoot walking parallel to them, holding a glowing orb, some kind of device, or mini UFO, I don't know, or some kind of drone. Over from the Bigfoot, they next observe a UFO hovering in a field. The Bigfoot holding the orb is heading towards that UFO, and then suddenly the UFO just zips away, at which point the Bigfoot lets out a high-pitched scream and runs. So I don't know what's going on. Don't they just seem bitch ass? Like, any little disturbance that goes on, they just shriek like a baby and run away. These are just perverts in ghillie suits, dude. Like they get seen and they get spotted or something. Like, oh, and they run away. Anyways, we'll save it. We'll save it. There's another case in this same time period. This is another Fayette County case. This is different from the first one that we described. There's a father and son out bird hunting. They observe 2 spherical UFOs land in a field. They go out to check it out, and then they observe a Bigfoot moving along the fence line in a stiff robotic fashion. So this one's operating in some strange manner. It doesn't seem smooth. Something's wrong. The father uses binoculars and reports the creature having green glowing eyes. So here we go again. This is another common feature of the Bigfoot creatures. They appear to have glowing or luminescent glowing green eyes, in addition to this no neck. Next, apparently the father and the Bigfoot lock eyes, and they don't fall in love. He shoots at him twice. Apparently the Bigfoot just eats the bullets as if nothing happened, and it keeps moving. So they're impenetrable to gunshots. The father and the son, they go get a state trooper, and by the time they come back, the UFO and the Bigfoot are gone.
Well, of course.
Yes. But here's the thing. There was some residue or some imprint from the UFO that remained. There was a glowing ring in the field from where it was alleged to be, although no photographic evidence of this in any way. So at this point, people in Pennsylvania are freaking the fuck out because there's lots of sightings. Their animals are being shredded or their backs snapped. And men start forming armed watch groups. There's literally like a militia that forms to protect people from whatever's going on. They don't know what it is, but there's all these sightings. There's UFOs, there's Bigfoot creatures, and men just start getting guns ready.
Hell yeah.
I respect it.
The woods aren't safe.
No.
Take arms.
Take arms, fight back. Even though they're impenetrable to bullets, they do get startled very easily. And that would be my weapon against the Bigfoot creatures. I would just have like one of those air horns, right? If you're getting attacked,
yeah, like
blast an air horn, they run away.
I think that's for like black bears.
Oh, does that work for black bears as well? Maybe this is also just black bears.
Black bears don't like loud noises.
That's good to know.
The robotic fashion the Bigfoot was moving in this one makes me think it was like a hologram. So then even like the bullets, even the bullets, they just like go through the hologram.
I like the theory.
Scanning the area.
I like the theory.
Yeah.
I like the logic. It's just so funny because we're so out there, right? We're like, well, it's a hologram.
It's like, a ghost. It's the ghost of a Bigfoot.
Yeah, it could be a ghost. Like, right? It doesn't matter. Any theory is like on the table at this point. Well, clearly it's a hologram. It's like, that would make sense. It makes sense why it would be moving weird, why the bullets didn't affect it. Okay, so people have guns now. This is September 1973. A couple living in a trailer park near Freedom in Beaver County. They see a Bigfoot peep into their mobile home. They observe 2 red eyes. The man of the couple, he's startled by this. So he's like, ah. And then the Bigfoot screams and runs away. That's all it took. In that same month, in another trailer park in Dauphin County, a separate couple, they also see a Bigfoot. Again, trailer parks seem to attract this activity. In the same month in September, another lady, she also sees a Bigfoot peeping in on her near the Green Gate Mall in Greensburg. So we have a Bigfoot in the city now, near the mall, creeping on people. This case, Stan Gordan comes. He actually gets a print from the encounter. You'll probably see this on our Instagram in one of our social media posts. He has a 13-inch foot with 3 toes. That's what he found. This was in the newspaper from this peeping Bigfoot.
It's pretty ridiculous. Come on. It looks like a kid drew a foot.
Yeah. What do you mean? This is some research. This is research. This is physical evidence.
That's not.
That's not a. I don't know. Hey, I'm just looking into the topic. We're tasked with UFO-Bigfoot connection. Here we are.
Also, a 13-inch foot. That's not that big. Like, that's a shoe size 13, right?
That's huge. Yeah, that's pretty big, though.
No, it isn't.
That's pretty big, isn't it?
That's the shoe size I wear.
13-inch?
That's how it works, I think.
I don't know.
I mean, the way that this guy's holding this imprint, it's like 50 inches. But
yeah, it's possible I just have the wrong number written down. And because that Bigfoot it's like the size of his entire torso.
Yeah.
And I don't think his torso is 13 inches. So let's scratch that. I think, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe 13 inches is like a regular, not regular, but kind of on the upper side of what a foot would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right here. So we should retract that statement.
Looks
It's
more
huge.
like 22, 28.
22. Yeah, that makes sense.
Shaquille O'Neal size.
It seems like it would be bigger than that, honestly. It's like his torso. It's pretty big. But it does look ridiculous. It is 3-toed. It does look like his child drew it. But that's what they found. This was from the peeping Bigfoot near the mall. Again, this month, a lot of activity. This same month, at the same time, residents in York County, they see oval-shaped UAP for about an hour, hover only 50 feet from the ground. There was multiple witnesses of this phenomenon occurring, and they just watched it from their porches in lawn chairs. In Luzerne County, residents reported observing a dome-shaped UAP, which hovered for 15 minutes above their front lawn. So September, there was a lot of shit going on. A lot of UFOs, a lot of Bigfoots, a lot of peeping Bigfoots in September. I don't know what's going on. Is it like mating season for them?
That's a good theory.
That's what I'm wondering.
That. Yeah.
They're looking around.
I mean, that's elk mating season too.
That's why they're always
August,
screaming.
September. Yeah.
That's their O face, like just some
The
high
green
pitched
eyes are
scream.
them not horny. The red eyes are them horny, and then that's when they're peeping.
Yeah. That's actually a good. Hey, that's a theory. I've never heard that one, but there we go. Swerve Podcast, putting the dots together for you, connecting the dots. That's kind of the story of the Bigfoot UFO invasion. There's just multiple accounts of Bigfoot. There's multiple UFOs, UAPs. There's more cases that could be brought into. Like we said, there's over 100 reports, but these are some that stand out. All in that year. Very insane. Let's move on from this Pennsylvania Bigfoot UFO invasion, and let's go to December 9th, 1974. This is a bizarre case. This is the Bigfoot piloting a flying saucer case. So how this goes, there was a dairy farmer named William Bosack from Frederick, Wisconsin. He spots a UAP or a UFO on the side of the road in front of him while he's driving back to his rural home after leaving a meeting. The object was motionless, and it was about 8 to 10 feet in height. And he reported that the UAP craft had a transparent dome, and he said that he observed a 6-foot-tall ape-like creature with reddish-brown fur covering its body with pointy ears inside of this UAP craft. He also mentioned that the ape-like creature appeared to be operating a control panel, and as Bosack passed the object, it suddenly rose up and disappeared. So this is one of the first cases that I could find, all the way back 1974, of a Bigfoot actually piloting a craft. All the other ones, they're kind of just near it or around it, being abandoned by the crafts in a lot of cases, right? The crafts zip away and they have to run into the forest screaming.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's actually operating the craft, but it has pointed ears. It's just a little different.
Apart from the pointed ears, it's Chewbacca. Chewbacca drives the Millennium Falcon.
When did Star Wars come out? If it's in 1974, then this is definitely someone who just watched Star Wars.
1977.
Oh, it predates it. That gives this case much more credibility. Because if it was just the fact that someone watched Star Wars, this would make sense. This almost inspired Star Wars.
Yeah, could be.
Interesting.
But I mean, well, probably not like a rural farmer in Wisconsin, but like the script leaks before, or, you know, just because the movies come out doesn't mean that the fiction and scripts aren't out beforehand.
Sure. Yeah, they could. I mean, it's like 3 years before it drops, though, right?
Yeah, and I mean, a rural farmer probably isn't.
Dairy farmer, right?
Yeah, all up in the Star Wars business.
Yeah. Anyways, that's just an interesting take. First one that describes one operating a craft that I could find. Next, August 1976, there was primate hair found at a UFO sighting. Following a series of UAP sightings around Rutland, British Columbia, Canada. Here we go. This is a Canadian case. For new listeners, we are a Canadian podcast. Several men and their children saw a hairy ape-like creature that was 6 to 7 feet tall roaming around a mountainside. They also found a clump of hair that was sent to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for identification. I just find that funny. It's like, if you want to get something done, send it to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. That's for sure going to do it. Let's get the laboratory analysis of the RCMP. For listeners who aren't aware, in Canada, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, do we even need to get into it? Do we need to say what this is? It's like guys in like strange uniforms that ride horses.
It's men and women.
Men and women.
But the bottom half of their outfits are ridiculous.
Yeah. In any case,
they have lumpy pants on. Like, that's their uniform.
It's the equivalent of the United States FBI, but it's just like a joke.
Yeah.
They do a laboratory analysis. They confirm that it's primate hair, but they say that it does not match any known species on Earth. I couldn't find anything to back this up other than the article that I have in the citations in the show notes, but this is what the article said. I couldn't actually find the lab analysis, which would have been really nice to have found, right? Because if it's been done, you would expect it would be like public knowledge or something, or you could find it somewhere. I couldn't find it.
There's one thing I want to go back to in the other story.
Sure. The flying saucer?
Yeah, being operated by a Bigfoot. It's kind of like Planet of the Apes, maybe, which came out in 1968. But it's like the opposite.
Oh.
Instead of a human crash landing in a world where the apes are, it's the apes that are landing where the humans are.
Interesting.
Just like an Uno reverse card on that 1968 movie.
Yes. That would make sense. So there is media influencing the perceptions of people at the time.
Potentially.
Okay, I like that. This is going to be my last case that we're going to report. There are many, but we don't need to go through them all. This was a more recent case. This was from 2011, and this is also Pennsylvania related. So I thought, let's throw it in here. In this case, it's like this is like a second invasion. There's unusual incidents from 48 counties. There's many different types of UAP being reported. Spheres, cigar-shaped, triangular, rectangular, and disc-shaped UAP. Some of the cigar-shaped objects, they had illuminated rectangular windows that were reported. And some of these were vertically positioned, orange glowing cylindrical UAP. Very weird. Many Bigfoot are also being reported at this time. They were reported in Adams, Beaver, Cambria, Elk, Fayette, Westmoreland, Armstrong, and Forest counties. And there was reports of these beasts throwing rocks and growling at the hunters, and they were all between 7 to 8 feet tall. So again, this was just kind of like a spike in activity that was reported in 2011. And as we stated in the basics, we also did have a spike in activity in 2023. So it appears 1973, 2011, and 2023 are kind of hot spot years for this activity. All in Pennsylvania.
That's weird.
That is weird. So what I would like to do next is explain what is going on. What are the proposed theories that can place these two phenomena together?
As we continue our journey into the perplexing realm of the Bigfoot UFO connection, we're about to explore a realm where speculation meets science and philosophy. Get ready to dive deeper as we dissect and debate the many theories put forth to explain the reported encounters. Some of them will definitely surprise you.
One quick thing, are you tired of eating bland flavors day in and day out?
Yes, it's absolutely unbearable.
Do you want every meal to have extra bite?
Of course, I want this hell to end.
Then you should try Flavors of the Forest Bigfoot Breath, a premium raw garlic dust. I've been dusting Bigfoot Breath garlic dust, especially the spicy variety, on many things, such as eggs, steaks, pizza, but really whatever.
Thank goodness for Bigfoot garlic dust. I thought I was a goner.
If this sounds interesting to you, you can check them out using the link in our description or go to flavorsforest.com/swerve.
Now, we do receive a small kickback from purchases through our link at no cost to you, so it is a great way to support the show if you choose to do so.
That's flavorsforest.com/swerve. Use promo code SWERVE for 15% off your order of Bigfoot Breath garlic dust. flavorsforest.com/swerve. Promo code SWERVE for 15% off. All right. This is my favorite theory by far, so I put it at the top of the hop here. Going back to Dr. Michael Persinger. He's come up a bunch of times on the podcast. He's an American-Canadian professor of psychology at Laurentian University in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. He's well known for his God helmet experiments that produced religious revelations or strange hallucinatory manifestations in subjects. So I'm going to give a shout out to episode 35 where we covered the God helmet. People, they put this helmet on and it would, through magnetic stimulation of the brain, people would hear voices. They would describe it as a religious experience. Maybe they were talking to God. Some people saw entities. There's a lot of strangeness around the God helmet, but this is where we first heard of Dr. Michael Persinger. And here he is coming up in the UFO-Bigfoot connection of all places. He has an explanation for this. He calls it a hallucinatory explanation. Persinger referred to the manifestations of this bizarre phenomenon, such as Bigfoot, UAP, UFOs, orbs, etc., as transient phenomenon. These were simply, he reports, or this is his theory, that they are simply the result of the brain reacting to the natural geomagnetic energies in certain hotspot areas. So as I just mentioned, remember the God helmet, this used magnetic stimulation of the temporal lobes to induce bizarre experiences in test subjects. So the idea here is it possible that certain areas in Pennsylvania, this hotspot area, there's just naturally increased natural geomagnetic occurrences that are inducing the same thing? In the same way the God helmet induces this in people, is it possible that just natural areas through, just how the core of the earth is moving that Monday, you have more geomagnetic activity and it causes people to see things? Could this explain these strange simultaneous clusters of reported sightings of strange hairy monsters in UAP?
Potentially, I guess.
I like that theory.
I guess if the magnetic field is always fluctuating, then you can't really test it. But if it's constant enough, then I guess for a period of time, you'll have these weird reports. But I would expect you'd have more than like the 250 witnesses. I'd expect it in an area covering that size.
Well, maybe. I think that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. But I'm just recalling back to our geomagnetic reversal episode. It is known, like, the magnetic field of the earth is constantly shifting, and there's different pockets around the globe that have increased magnetic activity, at different times, and the poles are moving.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like different strengths is the point I'm trying to make. And I'm wondering, even in a large area, just like if you go across the globe, there's different strengths in different areas. That's probably also true of like a county-sized area where there's just pockets of higher and lower activity.
Yeah.
And so like you were saying, it would be difficult to test because it could just be for this 1 hour period of time in this field, we're at 10x or 100x what it would normally be. And it's just for that hour.
Yeah.
And you just wouldn't be able to know. You wouldn't know, right? Because how would you know? You'd have to be testing it all the time to see how it fluctuates.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's not fluctuating all the time, then you would have evidence that that's not an explanation. But if it was fluctuating all the time, that could be an explanation, right? Like if you were seeing like 100-fold spike, you'd be like, that's significant. Maybe that's doing something to someone's brain.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. I don't know.
And with like the multiple occurrences within the state of Pennsylvania, could be on a ley line as well. Where
could be ley line.
Where you do have these fluctuations that just, happen to occur in the same area because it's on a ley line.
Could be ley line.
Could be a lot of things.
It could be a lot of things.
You could throw anything at it.
You could do anything you want. It's up there. We're going there. Hey, we still haven't got to quantum. Just wait for quantum, baby.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that one.
But I like this theory because it's based. It's logical. It's not too out there. It's just, is this magnetism? And we know magnetism can because it's a treat. People get treated with transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's a real treatment. You can change people's perceptions using magnetics. So to me, it's not outside the realm of possibility that a spike could cause people to see weird things.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go into another theory. This is from John Keel. John Keel was a ufologist, and he's also, this is probably where he's most known from. He's the author of the well-known Mothman prophecies. And he also popularized the term Men in Black. Did you ever see the Mothman prophecies? They made a movie of the book.
No,
early
I haven't.
2000s. It's a good movie. You should watch it. It's fun. It's fun. There's like a scene where someone picks up a phone and there's like some creepy, it's supposed to be the Mothman or some shit. And it's like, I know what's in your pocket. And they're like, what? Chapstick. And then it's like that's like part of the trailer. It's like a big drop. It's like, I always found that hilarious. Chapstick. Scared the shit out of me back in the day. I was like, what?
Yeah. That's funny.
Any case, that's where this is coming from. John Keel, he wrote this book, became a movie. He has a theory that there's a singular energy force that kind of manifests a window area of phenomena. So we're going to call it the window area phenomena theory. The idea is that there's specific areas in which unusual phenomena occur. And we could just think of these as hot spots per se, kind of exactly like how we've been describing this already. So in these hot spots, these otherworldly creatures or objects or crafts that are sighted, he believes that they're all manifestations of the same underlying energy force. He doesn't know what the energy force is. He's just saying in these hot spot areas, there's some kind of force, and you're just going to see that shit. It's all related to the same force. He describes the phenomena as transmogrifications of the same substrate. So Bigfoots, spacecrafts, Men in Black, orbs, etc., these are all non-material hallucinations occurring either by the perceiver reacting to something in the hotspot or something being projected onto the perceiver in the hotspot. He also referred to these entities as ultra-terrestrials. That's his theory. There's something we don't understand, some type of energy that in a particular area, when people encounter it, they're either going to perceive these types of things, no matter where it is. Kind of reminds me of maybe Skinwalker Ranch, an older episode that we did. We have a hot spot or maybe Mount Shasta, just like a hot spot of weird
Yeah.
activity. People see UFOs, there's Bigfoot creatures, things like this. That's kind of the window area phenomenon that he's talking about. And I'm sure it's all the same thing, perhaps.
I like that.
This other guy, this is another theory. Dr. Franklin Ruehl. This guy has a PhD in theoretical nuclear physics from UCLA, and he was a media personality and actor on sci-fi shows that discuss ufology and cryptozoology. He's kind of an interesting character. Like, he's got the educated background, but then he kind of went full. Who's that guy on Ancient Aliens that does the Ancient Alien stuff?
That's the Ancient Alien guy.
Yeah, like he's kind of he's like that guy before that.
Okay.
He's since passed, but he had some theories on the UFO-Bigfoot connection. And Dr. Franklin Ruehl, this is his first theory. I like it. We're going out there on a limb. He says that Bigfoot creatures could just be UFO pilots. Very simple. They're sent here to land and simply explore the Earth, like you said.
Yeah.
They land the craft. He goes out, checks it's all good, Chewbacca and shit. Maybe that's just what these Bigfoot creatures are doing.
I mean, yeah.
The other idea that he had was that Bigfoot creatures are essentially guinea pigs, and they're used by another life form to kind of test the environment. So aliens are perhaps leaving Bigfoot around, maybe in Pennsylvania. I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania, but maybe they're trying to study Pennsylvania. So they're dropping these Bigfoot off and they're sampling the environment, peeping around. That's another theory. I have a really fun note though on Dr. Franklin Ruehl. He when I was looking into him, he auditioned for America's Got Talent, and it's the funniest shit of all time. All he does, he takes 10 straws and he just like jams them into a potato, and he like shouts a magic word every time. And basically all 3 judges just like immediately hit no on him. They're like, nah, nah, nah. He just like went on stage and started shoving straws in a potato. It's fucking hilarious.
What the hell?
Like, it's so unhinged and just like why? But he did do that. And I thought that was fun.
He should have got the golden buzzer.
He should have. Okay, this next theory. This is a guy named Jack Cary. He was the director of the Paranormal Intelligence Agency and apparently had top secret SCI security clearance, and he served as an encrypted communications specialist on nuclear submarines. He speculated the following. These could be targets of aliens. Bigfoot could simply be abducted by extraterrestrials in the same manner as humans. Maybe this is why they're related to each other. The UAP are tracking them. When they find them, they take them. That might explain why there's this correlation between the two. And he went on to speculate this could be a desire to study the genetics or the physical attributes of this creature. So he's saying Bigfoot are earthbound creatures studied by some kind of extraterrestrial. His next speculation is that this could be an extra-dimensional Bigfoot. Not interdimensional, but extra-dimensional. He said that momentary tears in whatever the membrane of our reality is that separates us from parallel realities could allow extra-dimensional entities to cross over.
I like both of those. Like, I like them being the target of alien abductions because, one, the aliens know how elusive they are to humans. So they're like, how come humans aren't finding these big motherfuckers? So let's find them and, analyze it. But then it doesn't explain the one Bigfoot like waving away the UFO and it leaves, or like holding an orb that kind of walking towards it. Doesn't explain that. And then the extra dimensional stuff, that's pretty cool too. Imagine if we were all of a sudden like ripped into another dimension where it's just Bigfoot everywhere and the humans are the elusive ones. And we're peeping into like Bigfoot windows and then they make a noise and we're like, oh shit. And then we just run away.
That's totally what would happen.
Yeah.
Fuck. This guy's shooting at me. Fuck. I gotta run to the woods. Yeah. We're just on this. We're just shitting on the Bigfoot creatures. We're like, all these fucking perverts looking into the windows and stuff. And they're just like trying to sort out where they've been zapped into. Yeah. Oh shit, how do I get out of this? Getting shot at. That's hilarious. That's totally what would be the case. That's a good perspective. Yeah, if you were zapped into a Bigfoot area, like what do you do? You're going to approach the mall. They're like, get the fuck out of here. And they start shooting at you and shit.
They're measuring how small your feet are. They're like, look, it's only size 7.
What the? What?
Completely hairless, long necks, longer backs.
That's very interesting. So let's talk about this next theory. This is Stan Gordan himself, who we've brought up a few times on the podcast already. He is a former electronics technician. He lives in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. So he's in Pennsylvania. He's got his hotline. He's been documenting this for many decades. He has been reporting strange events in the Pennsylvania area since he was 10 years old in 1959. That's when he started. 1969, 10 years later, so he's 20, he sets up a hotline for sightings. And he says in his interviews, the phone has never stopped ringing. So this is the guy, as we said earlier, he reported on the 1973 UFO-Bigfoot invasion. He's also documented the 2011 and 2023 spikes in activity. And he might be, he's kind of boots to the ground on this, hearing a lot about this. He thinks that these are interdimensional. Maybe he doesn't say it explicitly, but he has interdimensional leanings in his theory. He has stated that Bigfoot and related phenomena may be interdimensional, and he talks about how reports of Bigfoot describe how the creature fades and changes shape and also disappears. He also talks about how they seem to be unscathed by human weapons. When they're being shot at by rifles and shotguns into their bodies, they appear to just be resistant to this. So he has interdimensional leanings, surprisingly. And here's a quote from Stan Gordan relating to everything we've just said. He says, quote,
"Something so beyond our scientific understanding we don't know what we're dealing with. We're dealing with something that is not a flesh and blood animal, for lack of a better term. We might be dealing with something interdimensional. I don't think anybody has the answers. I don't have the answers. I think the government knows more than they're telling, but they don't have the answers."
End quote. So interdimensional Bigfoot, Stan Gordan kind of leans that way. Here's another theory. Rob Riggs and Tom Burnette, these are Bigfoot investigators and authors on the subject. They also have a similar theory to Keel, John Keel, this window area phenomena. They think that there's natural interdimensional portals that exist in certain areas, and they pop up naturally in certain locations. So the idea is it possible that alien technology is able to predict where or when these conditions occur and access these portals to travel between dimensions? So their idea is across the world, there's different locations where portals emerge, and maybe UFOs, through their advanced technology, can predict where those are and use them as a travel mechanism. So if that's the case, if these portals do exist, is it also possible that the Bigfoot creatures, they know how to access the same conditions naturally with just whatever specialized organs or brain structures they have? So they don't require technology like the UAP or UFOs. They just naturally can interact and travel between these dimensions. It's kind of a cool theory. That's like we were just saying, imagine if you popped up in a Bigfoot world. Maybe this is what's happening with the Bigfoot. They're just popping up because they naturally can just access the physics that we don't understand of the universe, and they're coming from some other place.
Are Bigfoot kind of limited to North America, though?
Well, no, actually.
Okay.
So there's different names. I know the Yowie
Yeah.
is what they call it in Australia. Sasquatch and other. There's different names, right? The
Okay.
Yeti. So,
Okay. But we're lumping them all together, kind of.
well, in this case, a lot of the cases were in North America that we've talked about.
I'm just thinking, like, if a Yeti crosses a portal, it's going to stick out in North America.
Well, maybe they have access to different portals. And different
Yeah.
portals are in different... I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm not saying any of this is real. I'm speculating here. I didn't think I'd be talking about this. But here I am. Studying the quantum Bigfoot, for fuck's sakes. Okay. So it's a fair question. If that's the case, say the portals are real, you can access them with technology, you can access them with certain adaptations that maybe evolution in whatever dimension you're a part of just gives you organs to do that. Is this why UAP and Bigfoot creatures are reported concurrently in certain areas and they also just appear to vanish? It's a decent theory. If you're speculating and you're high as fuck, it's a decent theory. Here's another theory that Rob Riggs and Tom Burnette have. Are Bigfoot simply slaves of the aliens? Now, there's a story to this. Allegedly, Tom was approached by a man who identified himself as an intelligence officer from the U.S. Air Force. The man told him that at least some of the Bigfoot are used by an advanced alien species as slaves for the purpose of mining the earth for bismuth. Interesting. Haven't we talked about bismuth before on the podcast?
Recently, yeah.
Anti-gravity episode. What's going on with bismuth? The idea is supposedly bismuth is used by the aliens as a fuel source. So is it the case that maybe it's just concentrated on Earth and you need to send out scouts to get it and receive it? I'm not sure about that, but that's a theory that they proposed as well. And here we go. This is going to be our final theory. Saved it for the end. Let's talk about Ron Moorehead. This is the same guy that created the famous Sierra sounds. I don't know, are you familiar with the Sierra sounds? Have you ever heard those?
No, I haven't.
I wanted to play them on the podcast, but I know they're copyrighted.
Wait, I think we did cover it in a episode.
Yeah.
Where like people in Montana heard these noises while hunting.
Something like that, yeah. But this is the guy that recorded those, and it sounds
okay.
like an Asian guy like screaming. He's like, and they're like, that's Bigfoot. But that's seriously, it's like, I want to play it, but I don't want to get copyright striked any more than we've already been striked down by the man of big tech corporations trying to thwart the Swerve podcast. Anyways, he's the guy who recorded the Sierra sounds, and he's also a proponent of the quantum Bigfoot theory. So here we are. We've arrived. Quantum fucking Bigfoot. Let's go. Here's the pieces of evidence, the pieces of information that will lead us to the possibility that a massive ape-like creature can wield quantum physics. The first piece of information. Quantum biological processes are real and studied. And this is actually true. This is 100% true. Professional researchers have found evidence of quantum mechanical mechanisms in organisms. So we've brought this up on the podcast before, but magnetoreception in birds, how in their eyes they have cryptochrome, and that allows them to, in a sense, see the magnetic fields around the earth. And that's why migratory birds know where they're going. That uses a quantum process. There's also chemical processes in many different biological systems, such as photosynthesis, olfaction, so smelling, the sense of smell, and cellular respiration, which is used to produce energy in basically all cells. These all use quantum mechanical mechanisms. So the idea is it really that impossible that Bigfoot has similar organs or cellular systems that can tap into different quantum mechanical mechanisms? That's the reach we're doing. We're like, okay, we know biology uses quantum mechanics in some processes.
Yeah.
So is it unreasonable to suspect that a Bigfoot would not have that capability? Now, this is the other piece of information. A lot of reports report that there's rapidly disappearing or vanishing Bigfoots. They seem to just disappear. So the idea is, are they able to hijack some type of quantum mechanical process? And maybe this can explain how they're able to vanish and disappear so fast from these reports. That's how we got to quantum Bigfoot. That's the idea.
It makes sense. Gives us some, evolutionary characteristics.
Now, do we want to see how Ron Moorehead attaches this to the UFO-Bigfoot connection?
Yeah.
I have a quote from Moorehead himself. This is to explain this quantum Bigfoot UFO connection quote.
Now, the big question: can 2 eggs in a woman's uterus be fertilized by 2 different males at the same time? The answer is yes. 1 in 400 sets of fraternal human twins is bipaternal. So my theory, which is shared by a few others, is that an alien, Lucifer, is trying to corrupt the human genome again, fertilized one of Rebecca's eggs, and Esau, and Asu was the result. This would have created a human hybrid, and Bigfoot just might be a remnant of that. Bottom line, these creatures, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, have quantum abilities because their ancestral father was alien. Their ancestral mother was human, and they are a diluted remnant of alien intervention into God's creation. There are many theories regarding Bigfoot. This is just one. If the accounts are true regarding UFOs being sighted around these creatures, perhaps aliens are still working the earth, altering the DNA of a great ape. There is a reason.
End quote. And I think this is a great moment to roll into final thoughts.
Let's do it.
Before we move on, we would like to give massive props and credits to our producer tier on Patreon. Thank you to David Cheesem, Shelly Terry, Alexius Ryan, Big Balls Small Wiener, Batcat Meatloaf, Velcro Shoe Guy, Tosh Collins, Honest Elliot, and Christian J for enabling today's episode and the continued growth of the show. What I really did like about this is one of the most important things for me about the topic. I think it's just a great opportunity to explore one of the most fringe of the fringe ideas. It's just a fun ride.
Yeah.
I like it as a fun ride. The idea, Bigfoot's already fringe, UFOs are fringe. Let's sauce them together and let's be fringe. See where this goes.
Fringe squared.
Yeah, fringe squared. That's actually such a good catchphrase. We should use that. Fringe squared. I have a theory. I have my own theory. I thought maybe this is a good time to bring this up. Remember, we've brought this up a little bit on podcasts, but there's some people that believe that aliens, for instance, the stereotypical grays, that they're future versions of humans. Have you heard that theory before?
Yeah.
Yeah, that the aliens are just us from the future. And the reason, they don't have genitals, the reason they don't have mouths, and they have these big eyes is just evolutionarily there was no need to reproduce sexually, so they lose these organs over time, and through an evolutionary process they just become these grays. Knowing that that's a theory and that there could be these time traveling future versions of ourselves, and that's could explain what the UFO phenomenon is, I'm wondering, is it possible that Bigfoot is just the future advanced version of chimpanzees coming back? In the same way grays are future humans coming back, is a Bigfoot just a future chimpanzee or some other ape coming back after millions of years of evolution? And it's just, that's what it is. Maybe that's the UFO-Bigfoot connection.
Like coming back the same pathway as the aliens.
Imagine chimpanzees a million years from now. They're going to look much different.
Yeah.
Or let's not use just some kind of ape that exists now on Earth. They're going to look much different in the future. And maybe that's what a Bigfoot is. Maybe that's why this guy's seeing a flying saucer. It's just a future version of some kind of ape. And it's just coming back to check out whatever's going on. In the same way, some people think the grays are future humans.
Yeah.
Maybe Bigfoot are just future apes.
Okay. Not a bad idea. It works.
I just want to throw it out there. I never came across it in anything. And I was like, yeah, maybe that explains what we're seeing here.
I do think connecting fringe theories together, there's something to it. Because if it's occurring for one instance and you have multiple instances with like different fringe things, it makes sense that they should occur together. Like these things are kind of both ideas on their own, but when they come together, it just makes them both more plausible, I guess.
You think this adds credence to the independent phenomena?
Yeah, especially like the 123 witnesses or the incidences of
Right.
seeing Bigfoot. And then you have a lot of witnesses seeing UFOs as well.
Right.
Yeah, why can't they exist at the same time in the same plane? They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
At the same time, though, I just wonder, Stan Gordan, he's getting a lot of reports. It's just a hotline. Like, I could call that in.
You could call every single day.
And just, you know what I mean? It's just hard to... What's better is, like, physical evidence, photographic evidence. Multiple witness accounts are great if you have... Again, if like 15 people say something, that's pretty good evidence. But really, physical evidence is where it's all at. And it always just seems to be lacking, unfortunately.
The footprint wasn't enough for you?
Well, I don't know. That was a pretty solid footprint. I'm undecided. The peeping Bigfoot, the quantum peeping Bigfoot. In any case, if I were to say one of the funniest things, not the funniest, but one of the biggest swerves, obviously, is the quantum Bigfoot. I just think quantum Bigfoot's out of fucking control. This is like the logical extension of just, why?
Yeah. That one.
Do you like it?
No,
you like it?
I don't like quantum Bigfoot. It seems just too easy, I'd say. Like the other ones, they have a purpose, like enslaved or being targeted, hunted down, mining. This one is just like, yeah, they just developed the ability to go in and out of quantum space, I guess.
It boggles the mind. It boggles my mind. Maybe I don't know enough about it. Maybe I'm missing something. I think quantum Bigfoot is out of control. I think it's out of control. It's too much. It's too crazy. It's too out there. It's not something I like. But like I said, it's fun. It's a fringe theory and it's fun. I have a lot to say quickly. When I was researching this topic, in a final thought, this was probably some of the most funny shit that I ever came across in my life. Well, one, I think there's two things. Here's a Bigfoot UFO connection that we might have missed. We might have missed this, but we did bring up that Bigfoots, they seem to be these easily startled perverts. But here's the other thing that we missed. What is a common characteristic among alien abductions and UFOs? They all like probing ass. So there's a connection.
I like that. That's funny.
There's a fucking connection. That's my Bigfoot UFO connection.
The Bigfoot are just tired of being anally probed by aliens. Running around in the forest like, fuck. No.
That's what.
And the aliens are just like sitting back, controlling their ship. They're like, I'm going to get this ape.
Yeah, probe. They're trying to. That's why they're always on their toes and they're always running away. As soon as, shit, that's coming from my ass. And they got to run away. Or the other connection is just in the sense that they both exhibit, lewd and lecherous behavior all the time. You got these Bigfoot peeping around as perverts, and you got these aliens probing everyone in the ass. This is also out of control. This is more out of control than the quantum fucking Bigfoot. But here we are. Maybe we connected the dots. Maybe that theory makes sense. Bigfoot are just sick of being probed in the ass. And that's why they're quick and they're fleeing into the woods all the time.
I mean, just as viable as any of the other theories out there.
Totally. Now, I would also want to say there's an extremely popular documentary, and I didn't bring it up in the episode at all, although it was a source that I did go through, but I didn't use it. The Bigfoot documentary on YouTube is also completely out of control. It's got millions of views. I think it was like 4.5 million views on this documentary. Let me describe a scene. This was a scene. This is later into the Bigfoot UFO connection documentary. There's a scene where there's a Bigfoot guy. He's describing that Bigfoot hangs out in his slanted shelter all the time. He's like, this Bigfoot comes in, it comes out, it sits on the chair. He has no photos or videos of this or even set up a video camera or anything, even though it happens all the time. And then now he's in a scene where he's explaining this Bigfoot that's coming through his property. And as he's explaining this, there's a moth or a bug or a butterfly that flies past the camera. And there's like this epic dramatic pause, and there's like a zoom in, and there's a slow motion replay, and there's like suspenseful thriller music. And then the narrator is like, oh, Bigfoots are known to transmute into fairies. And perhaps the giant creature is showing itself as a small fairy being. And just how they shot it and like did these dramatic cinematic effects. It's supposed to be this big dramatic like nail in the coffin that the events of Bigfoot and the UFO are true, and this is definitive proof that this strange phenomena exists. And I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off. I think I was like washing dishes as I'm watching this, and I was blown away by how ridiculous the assertion was. It quite literally is just a white moth that flies past, and they're like, "It's a fairy Bigfoot." Oh,
yeah, that's so bad.
So I don't know. Is it quantum Bigfoot? Is it fairy Bigfoot? Maybe it is fairy Bigfoot. Anyways, it seemed outrageous to me. And there's another scene too. This is the same Bigfoot guy. He's kind of taking the film crew around his property, and he's talking about how there's these orbs that show up on the property all the time. And that they get these images of these orbs, and him and his associates are running around with these shitty, dirty cameras claiming that they're photographing UFO orbs, but it's clearly just lens residue. And the film crew is seeing nothing. The film crew is photographing the same spots, and they're seeing nothing. They even say in the documentary, like, yeah, we didn't see anything, even with our cameras and our photos. It's only the shitty, dirty cameras that are seeing this. And they're like, this is orbs and these are UFOs and the Bigfoots are fairies. So they're connected. Anyways, my point being is this documentary is out of control.
It's not worth the watch unless you're looking for a laugh.
Well, in my opinion, that would be my take. It seemed very ridiculous, but maybe I'm wrong. I will always hold that. I could be wrong. Maybe there is quantum Bigfoot. Maybe there is fairy Bigfoot. But that was the documentary. And they didn't go through the cases and stuff that we just went through. Like, you could easily have done a history, something like this, but they just went way the fuck out there. It was crazy.
Okay.
I don't know if you have anything to add to this, but this is my final thoughts on the whole thing. I think there's a connection, but maybe it's just they're both perverts.
Out of all the theories, none of them stand out to be better than any other one. But there are some fun theories out there, some things that make you think differently, and that's what I enjoyed about this one. Like, I never thought about Bigfoot controlling the UFO or UFOs chasing Bigfoot, so I like that.
Right. Having said all that,
before we roll out of the episode, be sure to go right now and sign up as a free member on Patreon so that you can vote on what topic we record at one of our next recording sessions. Signing up takes 1 minute and it's completely free to do. So just go to patreon.com/the Swerve podcast, press the blue join for free button, create an account by entering your email and password, and boom, you have instant access to voting, which Magnum will explain more about.
So we're releasing a poll of 5 to 10 topics from our master bank of recommendations on the 1st of each month. And then voting is going to be open until the 15th of each month. So if you hurry up and sign up, you can cast your vote before voting closes or before you miss out on the next round of what we're going to be dropping. We also have 3 other paid tiers on Patreon if you would like to support the podcast. We have a $1 Ride the Wave tier where we drop 1 extra Patreon exclusive episode each month. It's an episode like you've heard here. You will also get a shout out on the podcast. We have a $3 Slap That Ass tier where you'll get early access on Sundays instead of our typical drop time of Wednesdays to all of our main topic episodes. But you will also get a Patreon exclusive holographic sticker pack mailed to you. And then finally, we have our $10 producer tier, where you will be credited at the end of all main episodes that we do, as well as receive one monthly special bonus Patreon exclusive episode. Right now, we're doing our Connect the Dots series, where Izzo and I input all the topics we've ever done, Patreon exclusive and main, into a random number generator and have it output the topics. And then at random, we try connect the dots of 12 topics that are output in any way we possibly can. And they're absolutely hilarious. So I will mention those. Make sure you sign up for topic voting so you can help kind of direct what topics we're going to research and record next. And I would like to thank everybody for listening. Now that is out of the way, today we're going to roll out to a song called I Left This Place from an artist named Joel off his EP called Diversions. This song talks about UFOs, and his album artwork also featured a Bigfoot. So I felt the whole vibe suited today's content perfectly. So as always, if you would like to hear more, we'll have a link to Joel's website in the description. And lastly, if you are a listener of the show and you produce music that fits the themes we cover or our vibe in general, please reach out to us. We're trying to do something new here. We want to feature underappreciated art and help with exposure in some way. So if you're a listener and you have music that suits the Swerve podcast, please feel free to reach out. Slap that ass.
And ride the wave.
Has it been since I left this place? I watched these fields grow smaller under my feet as I left this place. Was it a dream, or did they take me away into outer space? Or was it worse? Was I just seeing things that would shake my faith? Spoke and they called me by name.
So, Esau and Asu was the result. I just shit my pants.